There are many beliefs that feel unquestionably true simply because they are widely accepted. This gap between what feels true and what is legally or factually accurate is known as truthiness versus truthfulness, the difference between what is commonly believed and what is supported by law and evidence. Today we're going to explore and apply this concept to a more common assumption in healthcare. Are doctors legally required to do everything possible to keep a patient alive? Let's separate the myths from the facts about what their true medical obligations are. Doctors must do everything. A lot of people believe this. Once you're in a hospital, doctors have to do everything possible to keep you alive, no matter what. It makes sense emotionally. Movies show CPR working, families expect miracles, and we assume healthcare is a service we can demand. This, however, is a myth. In Ontario, under the Healthcare Consent Act, there is no automatic right to demand that doctors start or continue any treatment, especially if it has no medical benefit. Consent, however, is required before any treatment can be given, and doctors must weigh the risks, benefits, and likely outcomes. However, the situation becomes more complicated when treatment has already started, especially in end-of-life care. In Canada, doctors may issue a do not resuscitate or DNR order when CPR is medically inappropriate, such as when resuscitation would cause more harm than benefit in cases such as organ failure, advanced cancer, or progressive dementia. In these situations, physicians must consider the risks and benefits of treatment and take into account the patient's wishes, values, and beliefs before deciding whether to attempt resuscitation. Even when consent is not legally required to write a DNR order, physicians still have professional obligations to explain their reasoning to the patient or their substitute decision maker and to discuss what care will continue instead. Because of this focus on autonomy, patients can refuse treatment even if refusing it could lead to death, but the law does not give a matching right to demand any treatment they want. A well-known example is the Supreme Court of Canada decision in Cuthbertson v. Rasooli 2013. In this case, doctors believed life support had no medical benefit and wanted to withdraw it, but the court ruled that withdrawing life support counts as treatment, meaning consent from the substitute decision maker or the Consent and Capacity Board was required. This decision shows that doctors are not always free to stop treatment, but it also does not mean they must do everything possible. Instead, the law requires a balance between medical judgment, patient autonomy, and legal oversight. So, the common belief that doctors must always do everything possible to keep a patient alive is an example of truthiness. It feels true, but it's not legally accurate. In reality, Canadian healthcare law is based on consent, medical judgment, and the patient's best interests. Cases like Rasooli show that doctors are not required to do everything possible, but they also cannot act alone when decisions are disputed. Believing the myth can be dangerous, because the system depends on clear wishes and legal consent. The law is not designed for movie endings. It is designed for real decisions with real limits.